Hello. Hello. Good morning to you. 9:30 on a Saturday morning. It's very nice to be back here on the Swap Shop, and, well, you can see what the time is. In fact, would you like to come and travel through time?
In the 1970s and 80s, Saturday morning television played a key part of any child's viewing growing up. Particularly in the UK, the airwaves would be dominated by these magazine-style programmes, featuring hosts that did sketches, ran competitions, and introduced various other shows, such as cartoons, both homegrown or imported. During this era, you were either BBC or ITV, or more specifically, Swap Shop or TISWAS. Both of these shows were incredibly popular, and continue to have their fans today, long after they concluded. But whilst they constantly went to war in the television ratings, did you know that they also fought on the pop charts? In absolute peak Britishness, both the casts of Swap Shop and TISWAS would release singles to which the viewing public could buy, both teams notching a place on the UK singles chart. But who charted where? Who charted higher? Let's look a little at the history of the programmes and find out. TISWAS would be first out of the gate, broadcasting live for the first time on the 5th of January 1974. The word TISWAS was an acronym that stood for Today is Saturday, Watch and Smile. Cute. The actual word in the dictionary means a state of nervous agitation or confusion, physical disorder or chaos, and that couldn't have fit the show better. Originally crafted to act as filler between different children's programmes, the segments with the live hosts, including a very young Chris Tarrant, would become the most popular, and anything could happen, quite literally. Just look at any sort of montage, and you'll know within seconds how bonkers this show truly was. As more and more of the ITV network took up TISWAS, by 1980, it had truly become a Saturday morning staple, and one of its most popular segments would inspire a musical side venture. One element of TISWAS was that a group of people, initially children, then their parents, and then eventually members of the public, would be placed into a cage and then doused repeatedly with buckets of water. The harmless fun of yesteryear, eh? This gag was so popular that it was decided that a fully fledged single be released by the regular TISWAS hosts, to capitalise on its popularity. The title may have seemed obvious, the Bucket of Water song. Why beat around the bush with that one? But what would the presenters be called? They needed a name, something so daft, so ridiculous, and oh so British, that it would complement the record nicely. There was only one result. The Four Bucketeers. Brilliant, isn't it? In the spring of 1980, they released their Bucket of Water song to the masses. And what did it sound like? Have a listen.
This is the song we lovers of water sing. We can't go wrong, we're happy as a king. We beat the drum as we march along, we clash the cymbal and bang the gong. We sing out strong, the Bucket of Water song.
It's hard to really analyse this seriously because, well, they're singing about a bucket of water. This is very in keeping with the TISWAS brand, however, giving off a uniquely British daftness that I can see the appeal in. These days, it may be viewed as a bit more cringe and sounding like some daft song you'd sing round the Scouts campfire, but in the pre-internet age, having some of your favourite presenters release a record together, no matter how daft in concept, must have been quite exciting. In the first week of May, the Bucket of Water song made the charts, at number 63. But the following week, it cracked the top 40, reaching number 36. And amazingly, the third week on the charts, it managed to push itself up 10 places to number 26. This even netted them an appearance on the biggest music show on the planet, originally produced and broadcast by their biggest rival. Top of the Pops was the place to be if you wanted to show off how well your song was doing in the charts. And despite it being BBC made, the Four Bucketeers dutifully took to the stage to perform their hit. When watching this back, it sounds like they're singing live. Not very well, but live nonetheless. If so, that would have been a break of convention for most Top of the Pops appearances of the time, where the artists were asked, nigh on instructed, to mime their performances. Number 26 and a Top of the Pops appearance would be the peak for the Bucket of Water song, as for the following 3 weeks would see it dip in the charts before disappearing entirely. But considering what this song is, number 26 is a commendable feat to say the least, and maybe says more about the British record-buying public than anything else. And what was the B-side to this single, you ask? It was something called Smello. the incredible Stinking Man. And no, that's not a joke.
It's great being smelly, it's great having a pong. With underarm odour, you really can't go wrong. It's lovely having BO, so your feet they sure belong. So put on a pair of wellies and sing the Smello song. Let's sing the Smello, sing the Smello, sing the Smello song.
You may be even more surprised to hear that the Bucket of Water song was not the only record released by the Four Bucketeers. Tarrant & Co. issued a follow-up with Matthew Butler, Bright Eyes. Wonder what the inspiration for that one was.
Bright eyes, burning like fire.
The B-side was a song called We Are the Four Bucketeers. How original.
We are the Four Bucketeers. We are the Four Bucketeers. We fight adversity to keep our country free, 'cause we are the Four Bucketeers.
There was also a third single, released in 1981, entitled Water is Wonderful, with Raspberry Rock as its B-side. Despite their enthusiasm for water, neither of these follow-ups even made a peek into the charts. But we couldn't press on without mentioning that all of these songs were featured on the Four Bucketeers' debut album. Yes, that's right, somehow, CBS gave these buffoons their very own LP, which includes such gems as the Wigan and S.E. Lancs Hopping Club, Woowall Wet Wheats, and the fastest-selling, most fabulous record ever to be made in the entire history. If only that was so, folks. If only that was so. Oddly enough, Smello isn't featured on the album, though that's probably for the best.
Well, that really is goodbye. It's a bit sad now.
We're not going to do the Greek tragedy ending again, are we?
No, I definitely don't feel that sad. It's funny, really, but having done TISWAS since 1974, it's all a bit of an anticlimax now, isn't it?
Yes, it is really, yeah.
Are you having a drink tonight or what?
I might just take just the odd snippet on. That's about it, really, and that's about all from us.
The success of the Bucket of Water song came towards the end of what TISWAS fans may call the Golden Age. By the end of the 7th season in 1981, Chris Tarrant and many other regular hosts, including a then up-and-coming Lenny Henry, decided to retire from the series. TISWAS would air an 8th and final season in 1982 with a largely different cast, but nothing could quite reach those giddy heights of popularity that came before. The final episode of TISWAS transmitted on the 3rd of April 1982. Reunions would happen, including one in 1988 as part of the ITV telethon, where most of the original cast returned to raise some money. And Chris Tarrant got to have a dig at TISWAS's long-held competition.
Of a decade of Saturday mornings when Noel Edmonds dominated our screens on one channel with his silly Division 4 footballer's haircut and his cootie-looking little beard, talking to nice, wholesome, cuddly children about Max box collections and trying to swap almost anything for Keith Chegwin.
Speaking of said competition, let's flick over to BBC One and head into The Swap Shop. Launched in 1976, the multicoloured Swap Shop, as it was originally known, was like the cleaner, more colourful version of TISWAS, with a lot less rampant chaos. Fronted by popular DJ and presenter Noel Edmonds, together with Maggie Philbin and Keith Chegwin, amongst others, they built up Swap Shop to become a firm favourite in many households, providing TISWAS with some serious competition. Like the other side, there was no real script, only a structure, and while shenanigans was still at hand, it all seemed a lot more organised and less unpredictable compared to TISWAS. By the turn of the 1980s, Swap Shop was beginning to change, and perhaps after viewing the relative success their competitors had with the Bucket of Water song, the Swap Shop gang believed that they too could have a hit record on the charts.
At Scotland Freeman Wedding Bells, if you've ever wondered what BBC One gets up to on a Saturday morning, wonder no more and have a look at the refugees. They've just arrived.
And thus, during the broadcast of what was both Swap Shop and TISWAS's final seasons in late 1981, Noel, Maggie and Kevin would release their single just in time for Christmas. The track was titled, I Wanna Be a Winner. And what was their group name? How can you top the Four Bucketeers? Brown Sauce. Yep. Not sure why, but there it is. So if you prefer brown sauce over red, then you're in luck here, I guess? Right from the off, however, this track screams early 80s. Several moments echo various tropes of the decade, for better or worse. Here's some examples.
Just wanna be a winner. Just a little
I've got to say, I much prefer this to the Bucket of Water song. Sorry, TISWAS fans. Not only does I Want to Be a Winner sound more of its time, but just the general level of production feels several steps above. I'm also a sucker for 80s sounds and aesthetics, so maybe that's what tilts me so much in favour. The group would dutifully make an appearance on Top of the Pops with their own music video of sorts, and you see those instruments they have? Philbin and Cheggers on guitars and Edmonds on drums? Well, they must have chosen them at random because they did not play those instruments on the actual record. Noel wailing here like his life depends on it. The B-side was a track called Hello Hello, which appropriately was the title song for Swap Shop's 6th and final season. I Wanna Be a Winner first entered the singles chart in mid-December 1981, ranking at number 75. It would gently climb over the following few weeks, reaching number 33 by Christmas. And surprisingly, for Brown Sauce, it kept climbing. And by the end of January 1982, I Wanna Be a Winner was at number 15, breaching the top 20 and surpassing their competitors' efforts on TISWAS. To say this was a surprise to all was an understatement. With hindsight, the of-the-time sound and fun lyrics I think really would have helped push this along, as well as the release period being around Christmas time, when more records of all kinds are generally purchased. By March, the track had disappeared from the UK singles chart, but had spent an impressive 12 weeks on it. Not bad for a novelty song released as a joke by a couple of kids' TV presenters.
Yes, I've never presented a programme from inside a cake. That's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, this is going to take a while. Run the titles, will you?
A fully fledged album from Brown Sauce didn't follow. Perhaps they felt it better to release one single and call it a day. However, success is addictive, and buoyed on by such success, Philbin and Chegwin decided to release a follow-up record. Noel decided to sit this one out for, well, God knows what reason. Probably preparing himself for his launch into primetime evening television. More on that in a little bit.
Well, here is Saucers, or Here They Are, Keith and Maggie, Saucers, and Spring Has Sprung, written by him.
Now rebranded as The Saucers, the follow-up song was called Spring Has Sprung. Unfortunately, this did not mimic the success of I Wanna Be a Winner, and didn't enter the charts whatsoever. It was given its due on the show that its presenters hailed from, however, as on the very last edition of Swap Shop, which aired on the 27th of March 1982, a bittersweet performance to mark the end of an era at not just the BBC, but Saturday morning TV as a whole, punctuated further the following week when TISWAS also wrapped up for good.
A big, big thank you to all of you who've been watching us for the last 6 years. Thank you very much indeed. A personal thank you from me to all the names you're about to see. From the Swap Shop team, goodbye. I just wanna be a winner. We all went.
Like the lot on the other side, the Swap Shop gang would appear together in reunions every now and then, most prolifically in 2006 when they reunited for a special 30th anniversary programme. Like TISWAS, those that grew up with Swap Shop hold it very near and dear in their time growing up. It may not have been as mad or chaotic, but a great sense of fun was always ready and waiting each Saturday morning for those tuned in to BBC One. Noel Edmonds, the lead presenter, launched his primetime programme, The Late Late Breakfast Show, later in 1982, and its mix of sketches, gags and dangerous stunts generated enormous ratings, although by 1986 it was cancelled in very abrupt circumstances, shall we say.
This is BBC One. Because of the tragic accident involving Michael Lush while preparing for tonight's edition of the Late Late Breakfast Show, the BBC has decided to cancel this and all further editions of the programme.
It was good, actually. It was good that you were the sensible ones and we were the anarchic ones, because it was a balance, you know, and you needed us and we needed you. Yeah. Because, you know, Tarrant would often go, "This is it! You don't get this on Swap Shop, pal! This is, yeah!"
So, who really won the battle of the Saturday morning chart wars? Well, if you're going off raw numbers, I Want to Be a Winner charted 11 places higher than the Bucket of Water song, and spent more weeks on the chart, so in theory, that was the victor. But really, it ultimately does just come down to what you prefer in retrospect, doesn't it? I have no doubt that some people absolutely despise the Swap Shop effort and much prefer the TISWAS gang singing about lobbing buckets of water at each other. And vice versa. Some will instantly prefer the 80s grooves of I Wanna Be a Winner over the Boy Scout rum-pa-pa of the Bucket of Water song. Both the shows experienced high levels of popularity, and without delving into the ratings data of yesteryear, I'm sure there were plenty of arguments on the school playground as to which one was better. But what these two tracks symbolise is truly a lost art. The power and impact that Saturday morning kids shows had back then was enormous. The fact they were allowed to release actual singles, both of which charted, is incredible, no matter what you think of the song's perceived quality. You would never see this happen nowadays, and if you did, it would have nowhere near the same exposure, promotion, or chart placements as what we saw back in the early 80s. Whether Edmonds or Tarrant, Swap Shop or TISWAS, A Bucket of Water or Wanting to Be a Winner, these songs, these shows, these presenters hold a very special place to millions upon millions of Brits and in television history.
Bonsoir, John. Prosit. Auf Wiedersehen. Au revoir. Adios. Aloha.
How do you like that? She didn't even say goodbye.
Thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and a special thank you to Macra, Sean Knock, Dord Khan, Ethan Carberry-Holt, Liam Domain, AJ Mac 200017, Jen, Traffy, Mr. Eurovision 1986, Evan Hart 42 Radio, Tim Ripley, 40-something Manchild, Mr. J McLeod, James Wallace, Ben, Stephen Oliver, Shadow Fiend 180X, Swan Bronson, Adam Gamer, Sir Fonzie Daz, Tegan, Matthew Elif, Pigeon's House, Seraphic Euphoria, Dave Batten, Leonard Starbuck, Kevin Mallon, C Diffusion, and Liam Turner are AMTV staff members.